Welcome back. The St. Lucia Labour Party hosted a virtual market steps meeting on Sunday. Members of the party made a case for removing the Alan Chastanet-led administration from office and returning the SLP to power. The party also officially announced 5 new candidates and allowed newcomer Kenson Casimir to make his market steps debut. Kenson Casimir made his market steps debut on Sunday, albeit virtually. He spoke to youth and urged them to vote for a team that wishes to propel them forward by putting in place policies that speak to youth development and addressing youth unemployment. He also took the expected jabs at the incumbent Grosley MP, challenging his record.
Young people, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Say no to political prostitution. It is time to say no to those who have abandoned us for 4 years and desire to use our own monies taken from us by them to pay us for their votes, for our votes. It is time to let them know we won't stand for that. You see, young people are always the targets for these politicians. They will come with $1,000 wrapped in a shirt when the election is called. Take the money. It belongs to you in the first place. But don't vote for them. Because if you do, you would have completed the transaction of being a political prostitute. When Sir John left his untimely demise, he had the option of making the current parliamentary representative of Grosley Prime Minister of St. Lucia. Did he do it? Ask yourself why. After 25 years, we've seen a party pay more attention to the likes of Guy Joseph, pay more attention to Gail Rigobert, pay more attention to Edmund Estefan, more attention to Ezekiel Joseph, their interests and their needs, while the people of Grosley suffer because there's a parliamentary representative that seemed to yield no clout and respect from his party.
And the party's political leader, Philip J. Pierre, challenged the government on its priorities, citing recent statistics from the National Youth Council that paint a grim picture for youth employment.
I heard a young lady say that there are 16,000 children in this country living in poverty. But you know what the government is doing instead? They are building a road to nowhere. They're building a road to nowhere somewhere in Dauphin. You know what they're doing instead? They are giving people design finance projects, contracts, I hear, for nearly $100 million with absolutely no tendering. You know who has to pay that debt? The young people of St. Lucia. You know who has to pay that debt? The people of St. Lucia. $100 million of roadworks without tendering.
Lambre MP Alva Baptiste brought his firebrand style to the virtual platform, condemning the government for its ongoing and planned projects.
When people are suffering, when people are losing their jobs and falling into poverty, the government has started paying for the unnecessary Larry Shoes Viewford Diversion Road built to accommodate the horse race track. This road, which cost $13.6 million, was built under a design finance construct arrangement. In this year's estimate, an amount of $3.2 million is allocated for this project to be financed from bonds. After paying this amount, the loan balance on this project is $8.3 million. DSH demands also require the government to relocate the Boseju Agricultural Station. This project is costing taxpayers $8 million, which is borrowed from the NIC, of which $3.1 million has been spent so far, and $1.7 million is allocated in this year's budget.
The SLP has maintained that the government's spending is targeted at undertaking projects as part of what they have dubbed an elections budget, rather than responding in an astute manner to the pressing needs of the COVID-19 era. The government, on the other hand, has countered that its capital projects will help resuscitate the island's economy by generating much-needed employment. Now, the party formally introduced its 5 new candidates to the general public via video statements. SLP Communications Officer Mondi Lewis indicated that it is an exciting time in the process of the party.
I am Alfred Prosper, more commonly known as Stabach or Pros. I am the St. Lucia Labour Party endorsed candidate for Dennery South, a conservationist by profession. My decision to run for political office stems from my concern for the residents of Dennery South. Join me as we bring about meaningful change to our constituency.
I am Dr. Pauline Antoine Prosper, the St. Lucia Labour Party candidate for Choiseul Saltibus. I devoted my life to educating children in St. Lucia. My people of Choiseul, let us come together. Let's be part of history. Let's be part of the change.
I am Dr. Virginia Albert Poyot, a veteran educator, trade unionist, and community activist. I am the candidate for the St. Lucia Labour Party in the constituency of Babonneau. My Babonneau people, I need your support to change this government and to rebuild St. Lucia.
The 2 young men who will attempt to defeat incumbent MPs Leonard Montoute and Dominic Fede in the Grosley and Slurry Canneries seats were also introduced in the virtual forum.
Grosley, we are the largest constituency in St. Lucia. Let's make the difference.
I am Wayne Girard, your St. Lucia Labour Party candidate for Ancillary Canneries. In times like these, you need a representative who cares. That is why my goal is to champion for the forgotten, powerless, and voiceless. Ancillary Canneries, together we will make it.
The SLP's candidates for the Castries North, Castries Central and Micoud North seats are yet to be announced. The SLP's communications officer says the introductions are imminent. Legendary sprinter Usain Bolt has tested positive for the coronavirus or COVID-19. The Jamaican Olympic great is reportedly now in self-isolation. The development comes amid a surge in COVID-19 infections in Jamaica, which on Sunday reported 116 new cases, its largest one-day increase on record. The number of confirmed cases in the island has jumped from 383 over the last 5 days to now 1,529. Health authorities attribute the spike to increased numbers of gatherings and parties during the first week of August when the country celebrated emancipation and independence holidays. The World Bank Group has received funding under the Canada Caribbean Resilience Facility, CRF. The facility was established to achieve more effective and coordinated gender-informed climate-resilient preparedness, recovery, and public financial management practices in 9 Caribbean countries. CRF also supports countries by deploying technical experts in the region for close partnership, collaboration, and just-in-time support to accelerate the implementation of recovery projects and overall resilience-building efforts across the Caribbean. St. Lucia received technical assistance to undertake some of the reform activities to its public procurement system. Glenn Simon has more.
Public procurement refers to the purchase of goods, services and works by governments and state-owned enterprises. It accounts for a significant portion of taxpayer revenue. Governments are expected to conduct public procurement efficiently and with very high standards to ensure quality of service delivery while safeguarding the public interest. Senior Procurement Officer in the Department of Finance, Trevor Cyril, acknowledged that in the past, procurement has not been accorded the level of seriousness that it truly deserves. He was pleased, however, to see that St. Lucia has now followed the path of the international community by recognizing the importance of the procurement function.
When you look at the value of procurement on an international level, it is accounting for 12% of government expenditure. In 2018 dollars in St. Lucia, our GDP was $1.922 billion. Procurement, as 12% of that would work out to about $230.6 million, and that's conservative. That is a significant amount of money. And so we need to put administrative procedures and a framework in place to ensure that government taxpayer dollars are best utilized and we end up with the best outcome.
With funding under the Canada Caribbean Resilience Facility, CRF, the World Bank team undertook a review of the post-disaster public financial management in St. Lucia, of which public procurement is a key component, particularly in response to a disaster or emergency. A stock-taking exercise on public procurement was conducted with relevant stakeholders during the month of August to discuss the new systems and modalities in public procurement, such as e-procurement and legislative reform governing public procurement. Anthony Jean is the Assistant Director for Public Procurement in the Department of Finance.
So it's not just only to introduce flashy systems of e-procurement and new legislation, but you want the persons really impacted to feel like some sense of ownership in this, because it's not being done primarily for us, it's being done for everybody. So our stakeholders, it's important that they're on board, they understand the history, they understand what it is we're doing, and importantly again, the next steps, how it impacts on them, how it requires them to respond, and we factor that into our action plans.
Deputy Economist in the Department of Economic Planning, Pearl Alcindor, agrees that public procurement must be given greater attention as it represents government expenditure into the local economy, which serves to stimulate economic activity.
Stock taking is very important in terms of looking at the efficiency of your project, looking at what are the gaps in your project activities, what are the troublesome areas that needs to be addressed so you can course correct and become more efficient to ensure that you deliver the outcome that you contemplated in the definition of your project.
One of the key stakeholders in the stocktake exercise was Calvin Lee, the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Department of Infrastructure, Ports, Energy and Labor. He noted that procurement is a critical aspect of the ministry's functions, which directly impacts the Public Works program.
Because a lot of what we do impacts the general public from the point of view that, apart from the benefit of having a good road, but the construction works, the repair works are normally done by locals. So whether they work for a large company or medium-sized one or individual small contractors who build drainage and small walls and that kind, all benefit from that. So procurement for us is critical in that the transparency of it, the accountability of it, it accounts for a significant portion of our annual budget.
One of the recommendations emanating from the stocktake exercise is increased capacity building for all stakeholders in the procurement process, in reference to the new tools, procedures and legislation necessary to modernize the procurement system. For the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, Glenn Simon reporting.
Thank you very much, Glenn. This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.